Hello and welcome to the Sports Lounge, where we love God, sports, and women with big butts. Today, we're joined by me, Eniola, not Bamiji, me. And I brought two fine boys with me here to discuss football, F1, and basketball. I'll let them introduce themselves. To my right,
my name is Abiola, civil engineer, graphic designer, Liverpool fan. What's up?
Mavs fan as well, loves Doncic. To my left,
Treasure in Maviwe, Doncic fan, lover of God, and yeah.
He was actually against me using that intro, but you have to adjust to it. So we are here, basically, like I've said, it's going to be a fun ride, so just stick with us and I'll be back shortly. Welcome back. Over the weekend in Premier League, we saw an instant classic, like we've always had between Liverpool and Manchester City. And we're a bit sad, I was a bit sad, knowing that I won't ever have to see that again. Beautiful football was on display. But before I go any further, let me talk to the Liverpool fan beside me and let me get his thoughts on what he saw over the weekend and who he believes should have won that game.
Well, I think to everyone and their mother, even blind people, Liverpool should have clearly won that game. I don't know if Doku forgot he was playing football or kickboxing. That should have been a penalty. Anyway, okay. The game was good. It was a great classic. It was Pep and Guardiola. Although I think there was a difference of intensity to it. Of course, there was the build up to the game had this whole sort of emotional feel to it because it was the last matchup they would have. But then City haven't exactly been City. They've been just a little bit more vulnerable, and we saw that in the game. They came out like shooting and they were incredible on the ball for the first about 20 minutes. But like always, Liverpool, we start off slow, but then once we get going, we run hot. And we dominated the game, especially in the second half. And it just didn't feel like other Liverpool City games. Sure, there were chances at both ends, but it felt more like everyone knew Liverpool should have won that game. So as a fan of the usual classic, I wasn't exactly satisfied. As a Liverpool fan, I was very happy that we showed that even with a depleted squad, we could do something incredible. We should have won the game. I've said it again. McAllister should have scored another penalty. Doku should have been sent off the pitch. Let him go and get his black belt somewhere else. But it's okay. We are going to keep going. City have their worries and the troubles at the back. And also in attack, I still don't know why Pep removed Kevin De Bruyne. It was so weird.
I mean, I think I understand the point you're coming from, but to the KDB point, I think at that point in the game, he was just getting swallowed. The pressure was too much for him, and he believed that he needed some more, probably defensive solidity or a different kind of attack to combat what Liverpool were bringing. I mean, at some point in time, Man City were budding the ball, as people would say. They don't do that unless they are completely rattled. So that's something we haven't seen from Manchester City. And also something we haven't seen this season is Manchester City have struggled to win against top 6 sides, except from one team that I won't mention because we're not going into that. But let me come to you, Treasure. What did you see about the game and what was the standout point for you?
So as my colleague has already mentioned, Abiola, the thing that actually I really noticed was Man City could not be Man City in that game, and I found it very weird. Like the first 10-15 minutes, yes, we saw them run rampant and everything, but after that we literally saw Liverpool grow into that game. And what made it scary, it felt like Man City was playing like a classic Mourinho Inter Milan team where they had to sit back, kind of soak in the pressure, and then try to hit on the counter and everything. And that was a very, very weird thing to see because I'm used to seeing Man City always holding the ball is moving here and there, fluid passes and everything. But kudos to Liverpool. I did think at a point that was actually Liverpool's game to lose, because it felt like they were doing everything right. Minus the goal that John Stones eventually scored, but I did feel like they were doing everything right at a particular point in time, and I do feel like there were so many chances that they just spawned away. Luis Diaz, for God's sake, twice.
I was coming
twice,
to that.
twice, one-on-one.
I wanted you to talk about, give me one word to Luis Diaz.
He threw it away.
Diaz, okay. Diaz is our live wire. He's our baby boy. He's our Colombian magic. We love him.
But he's 29 years old.
I know. No, he's our baby boy. No, baby boy forever.
Some people call him an almost player.
No. He's. Do you see that run against
I know
Walker?
Walker, when he retired Walker 3 times, which was very good.
So like,
and it wasn't just Walker and Rodri at a point.
Exactly. So like my point is Diaz is incredible. He can do amazing things. He runs at defenders and he causes chaos, and that's what you want your winger to do. Yes, the finishing is iffy. He hasn't really been on form, especially since we can forgive him. His dad was kidnapped, and he came back from injury too. So like there are different things that have happened. I know this is very much Anfield bias, but like we never walk alone. So I'm standing beside my baby boy. That's all.
Fair enough. We'll give you that. So let's go to another team in the Premier League race that's making it very interesting this year, and that's Arsenal. We all know what happened last season. They were leading the league for donkey years, and then when it mattered the most, they choked and didn't win any game for like they didn't win any game in like out of their 9 games that they needed to win. So it was very tough for them. But this season they've taken a measured approach. They haven't been leading the league. They've been battling it out. They've added some key pieces into their team, and they are basically coping with it. Do you feel, I'm coming to you with this, Treasure, do you feel like the measured approach this season is going to help them outlast everyone else, or do you think it's Liverpool's league to lose?
So I had said this towards the beginning of the season, and I still think this way as well. Arsenal is showing us something extra that we didn't get to see last season. There's this grind about them this season that we couldn't necessarily see at some points last season, but we are seeing it this season. And what I mean by that is, if we look at it, last season, all it took was for Saliba to get injured. And that was when they started having that bad run of results. But for some weird reason, like this season, what we can see for them is, even with some key players actually being injured, we can still see that these guys are still grinding in results. For God's sake, like you are pumping people 6-0, 5-0. Like when last did I actually watch an Arsenal performance and I'm like, my God. But they have been doing it like steadily this season. Yes, one thing I say is everything will have their moments of ups and their moments of downs. And I think they were able to go through that moment of down, and then they have come up seemingly much better than where they were just some weeks back, and everything. And then with the addition of pieces like especially Declan Rice in that midfield, my God, he is doing a fantastic work. A lot of people don't really see what Declan Rice does, but if you're someone who knows and loves football,
5 goals and
then he's definitely one of like the unsung heroes of that particular team, because he's been very assured for them in the middle of the park, giving the likes of Odegaard to go and do their creative havoc in front, while he is shoring up that midfield. Like, I have to say that guy for Arsenal should be like their signing of the season as far as I'm concerned. But I do think like Arsenal will go the long mile. They will go the long way. I had 2 teams pegged for winning the Prem this season, and for me it's still between Liverpool and Arsenal, right? And the reason I'm saying this is because I do think like the Man City team we are seeing now is not the Man City team of last season. They lost key pieces, and up till now it feels like they've still not really been able to recover as much. Though Pep is Pep, he will still try and find ways to show up certain things. But I still think like that City team is not as strong as what they were last season, and it's for that reason, amongst other reasons, that I think Liverpool and Arsenal, one of those 2 teams, will definitely come out on top of the Premier League this season.
Okay, fair enough. I think to that point of Man City not being Man City and the guys that they have lost along the way, I feel Pep may have overestimated his system to an extent, because I feel like in the past few years, a lot of his signings have not panned out the way he would have hoped for. He still had to rely on certain individuals to come through for him, a la Gundogan and all these Bernardo Silva and all these boys coming together. There was a time where the month of February, last year, where Gundogan was scoring almost all their goals. The brace against Everton comes to mind, and some other key performances that he brought to them. They no longer have that shield. And if you look at, they bought Kovacic to replace him, hasn't worked out. They brought Matheus Nunes, hasn't worked out. They brought out Doku. Besides the game against 37-year-old James Milner, he's not done anything worthwhile. I mean, Jack Grealish is coming on and off injuries, and even when he plays, it's not like he's this world beater that's going to do something magical for you. So besides Haaland, there's Calvin. We all know Calvin Phillips has not been great either. So besides Haaland, in the past few years, City's transfer policy has been lackluster. And yeah, they bought big money guys, but it's not been good so far. I'm coming to you with this, Abiola. Do you feel like Pep's time is winding down at City, or it's just one of those blips in the system where they'll come back and throw some more money at the problem and it will all be good?
Nah, Pep is a mad genius.
Yes.
And with geniuses, you have the thing where they have excellent runs. They create stuff. Edison made light bulbs, whatever. But then they also have really, really bad stuff. They have failed experiments. And Pep makes those failed experiments. And I think City fans especially, and also the governing body, the sporting director, everybody, they know that Pep is going to try stuff and is going to do things. But then, of course, we have to highlight the fact that he lost one of the hearts of his team in Gundogan was going away, because you can see what he sort of brings to Barca, because he brings that energy. You mentioned how last season he was one scoring games. He has that extra something. We have to know something with Pep signings, is that they never quite do well in that first season. Same thing with Grealish. Not everyone is a Holland that will come and break.
Technically, so to your point with Grealish, technically Grealish hasn't really set the league on fire. Although he mirrored his form from Aston Villa in terms of the goals and goal contributions, assists and all of that. It wasn't really explosive in that way. He kind of mirrored that. But in terms of, for example, he let Gundogan go. It was a decision whereby he could have kept Gundogan, could have kept him, but I feel like he lets his pride sometimes get in the way of the betterment of the team, because everyone gives him props over the players sometimes, and that's, I feel, is coming to bite him. And yes, transfer policies always vary if it's one season, but 2 seasons, 3 seasons, come on.
Sorry, to just cut you a bit, Abiola. Come to think of it, for a Pep team that is supposedly not so strong, they are still very much in the mix of the title.
Yeah, because City are supposed to, sorry for cutting you. City are supposed to be inevitable. They're supposed to feel like they're breathing down your neck. Even if they are 5th place at this point in the season, we believe they're going to win the league. They don't have that certainty. You enter a City game and you're thinking, they can beat them. I went into that game thinking, we can beat them. There was never any, oh my God, what are we going to do? Arsenal City, I'm going to pick Arsenal to win. Because just going off what you said, Arsenal are almost inevitable. They look like they're overperforming and they're running a high right now. But then because they are started to base the offense on fundamental things, set pieces. They scored, I think, 19 goals from set pieces. They are deadly. Their set pieces are almost like penalties now. So they have standard kind of, definitive weapons. Because once you have that fear that, okay, anytime Odegaard takes that ball, or Saka takes that ball, or Trossard, whoever, Trossard is terrible at corners, by the way, takes that ball to the corner and he hits it, somebody most likely will score. And once they score, I think they scored, 11 goals from losing positions, because once they equalize through a set piece, whether a corner or an indirect free kick, the game momentum, the other team starts to try to score again, and that opens up the game, and then they can play. And of course, Declan Rice has been Declan Rice, as Odumodu said, because he plays like a $100 million player. And I think that should not be understated. We don't really rate him too much because they paid $100 million, but then they put a price tag on you and you have made that, you've justified it. That's incredible. And so, like you mentioned, he makes Odegaard sort of like, go and do your thing, go and do. I will handle this. And he does that, and that makes Arsenal so fun. They play the best football. You see them against, I think, what team did they play? Brentford? I think it was against Brentford. They were playing like tiki-taka football. And I'm like, why are you doing this with your centre back? What are you doing? And you had Saliba and Gabriel just at the left half space outside the yard box. I'm like, what are you doing? But then it's fun, it's risky, it's interesting. They beat teams 5-0. So Arsenal will not win the league. Anfield bias.
I mean, some Arsenal fans, after all that praise just hit on them, as to say they won't win the league, it's kind of like a letdown. But that's fair. I believe we also know a few teams that have a few £100 million players and they're not really doing anything. So kudos to Arsenal for making it work. So let's switch gears here, figuratively and physically. Let's switch into the F1 spectrum. We have our F1 expert here, and we'll be discussing on what you feel or what you've seen in the first 2 races of the season, and how this season is shaping up for you.
So I think a lot of people were saying it before the season started that it was literally written in the stars that Max Verstappen was going to dominate this season again, and we're already seeing it. Already in testing, it felt like they didn't have one of the quickest cars. We're not talking about race pace now, over a lap. But I can never forget during testing when we saw Adrian Newey, that's the chief engineer, smile during one of the tests. Like, he literally smiled, and everybody was like, oh my god, it's like they have cooked something again. And that's actually what it's looking like right now, because it feels like the Red Bull cannot be caught by anyone else. It feels like it's a Red Bull thing and everyone else. Because look at it, the first 2 races it has been Max first, Perez second, then whoever wants to come third, you can go ahead and come third. That's literally what we have seen. Perez had a 5-second penalty in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix and he still came second. That's to tell you like how fast or how that car is like literally performing right now. And so it seems like for everyone else, the question is, who is the best of the rest? And right now it looks like it is Ferrari that is coming out head first as the best of the rest and everything. And then a shout out to Oliver Biermann, because he had a fantastic debut. Like, literally Sainz had to go out because of his appendicitis operation, and then they just bring this rookie from F2 into F1. He has just 1 practice session, he goes into qualifier, and then he finished just about how many seconds behind Hamilton not to enter Q3, and then in the main race itself he finishes 7th, being able to hold back people like Hamilton and Norris, who were literally charging at this guy and stuff. And so a shout out to the rookie who had a fantastic debut. And yeah, so Red Bull, the rest of the pack.
Okay, just to hold you on that point, I've seen over the past 3 years, Red Bull have been dominant, but we've seen the emergence of Ferrari from the shadow realm back into relevancy. And yeah, they threatened. I think there was a year where it was looking like they would win because it seemed like they had the fastest car. But so far, the 2 drivers that they have, they just can't seem to push it over the edge. Is it a situation of the car is not as good as Red Bull's car, or the guys behind the wheels don't have what it takes? Because we keep in mind, we all know that Hamilton is going to Ferrari from next season. Yeah. And if, for example, say is not the car is fine, and it's the guys behind the wheel, you are getting a 7-time champion behind your very fast car. Is that going to make a difference, or just going to be more of the same?
So, with regards to the the Ferrari conundrum, actually, that is really a conundrum. So we have seen a couple of things actually happen over the years, from in-house strategic disasters. That's what I would like to call them. Sometimes it has to do with something as flimsy as a really slow pit stop. Sometimes it has to do with something as flimsy as maybe the power units and things like that. But we have consistently seen Ferrari, quote unquote, self-sabotage over the years. They've been able to bring out really fast cars. They've been able to bring out cars that are competitive. I think as of last season, they actually had the fastest car over 1 lap, right? And everything. And then, in as much as we see these kind of things, we still see silly errors or silly mistakes that are being made. And things like that. Even coming down to this year, I remember we were doing the watch party for the Bahrain GP, and then one of the serious Ferrari supporters was literally shouting that I know Charles, if you put him under pressure, he will crack. And then Sainz will be the one to actually take the 3rd position. And just as he predicted, that was actually what happened. And then you start wondering, okay, what is actually going on here and everything. But having a seasoned head like Hamilton join them, 2025 is going to be really one to watch, right? I do think Ferrari are not so far off. I do think maybe there just is still a few things that would need a bit of tweaking, and then having a more experienced head in Hamilton, I'm really looking at what can possibly come out of it, right? I don't think we would have this much errors or this much issues that we're seeing here. Yes, a driver can be fantastic, but you also need the car to equally be as fantastic, or at least be okay, right? And everything. But I do think Hamilton will do well in the Ferrari. But do I think Hamilton has a crack at, maybe 2025 is too far, but has a crack at the championship 2025? I still don't think so, until probably the rule changes that come in 2026.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, so what you've explained is basically for Ferrari is a combination of car and man, so that's very much understandable. So yeah, we've covered our bases, and when you see me on this show, it's time for basketball, right? And we're getting right into it after this break. Stay tuned, don't go anywhere. Well, guys, it's that time. It's basketball time, and I have my experts here with me. So let's get right into it. We've seen this is like the last month of the regular season. We are a few games down. We only have a few left. And I want to start from this point of view, right? We've seen everything this season. We've seen record-breaking performances. We've seen MVP caliber performances. We've seen surprise teams. We've seen it all in the NBA this season, and it's still going. And we still have a lot more to break down in terms of how the season is going to play out. So far, let's look at the teams that have surprised you so far, or the teams that have stayed the course, essentially. I'll come to you, Abiola. I know you have your guys, that you have your Mavs and all those guys, but they are in the playing situation right now. Yeah. Besides the Mavs, how has this season panned out? Has it panned out the way you expected on both sides, East and West, or there have been a few surprises?
So I have this thing where, like, going into the new season, I can try to keep an open mind, because so many things can happen. Old rusty players who we thought were busts can actually start doing something, or people we expect something from might not do anything. But I think one thing that's really been incredible for me is this rookie class. I feel like outside of Wemby, and Chet is not a rookie, this rookie class have been good. Derek Lively, Mavs fan, of course, has been incredible. Brandon Miller has been great. Podemski, I feel like there's someone in my head. I'm just not like so many people. Jackson Davis for the Lakers. The Thompson twins.
I mean, also something has been.
Yeah, also has been, especially in the defensive end. He has been incredible.
Coming to his game.
Thank you. Cam Whitmore, whenever he hits, Scoots has been scooting by the side, but it's okay.
Scoots has been an utter disappointment. For the projection that he was given, next Dame, they basically got rid of Dame for him.
And he's been trash. But then I think outside of sort of those people, I've been impressed. I love Tyrese Halliburton. Okay. On our piece on, I think, the All-Star weekend, I said he was my All-Star MVP because he brings fun. I mean, you see the Pacers play and he pushes the pace. Yeah. He embodies what the team is supposed to do. He's meant to be fun and exciting. I feel like after the All-Star, he's dropped in terms of efficiency, just like for his standard, in terms of, you'd have 13 assists and 4 turnovers. I'm like, why 4 turnovers? You had 20 without any.
I feel there's a reason for that, but I'll come back to
that. Adjusting to Siakam and the whole change.
Let's not blame Siakam.
We're not blaming.
It was predicted.
Yeah, because
remember one of our conversations. I predicted that.
Now he has someone else who can play make, and so like he hesitates a little bit. He thinks and considers, when it was more of like a free-flowing thing where he just pushes the pace and handles everything. But then of course his shooting stroke has been incredible still, and has been a very amazing revelation. I think especially how janky his shot looks, but then he's been incredible and he has been fun. I love Anthony Edwards. I think he is MJ's son somewhere, somehow. The DNA is there. It's the SG position. He has that dog in him. Did you see that block? I feel like he should have cracked his head against the backboard. But I'm not going to talk about that yet. So many incredible players. I think there's been so many people coming into their own this season and have been doing incredible things. So yeah.
All right. Over to you. Who has been, or what team? I know you say, oh, I just like watching the Mavs. I'm not really a Mavs fan, but you seem to know a lot of things about the Mavs. There has been teams where I have my own standout teams that have surprised me, some that have disappointed me along the way. But what are your teams that you looked out for this regular season?
So when we did the first show, beginning of the season, and surprise team this season, I did call the OKC, and they haven't proved me wrong in any way, right? Because we actually did see, like, even from last season, we saw the setup, we saw what they were doing, and this season, like, the combination of Shea, Chet, Dot, and their other Williams, like, has been phenomenal. Like the rotations and everything, and Shea has literally, like, it just feels like season after season, he just takes his game up a notch, and he's not doing it just on the offensive side. Right, he's doing it on both ends. He's currently the steals leader at the moment and everything.
Deflection.
And well, in as much as I'm like, the team that really surprised me, not even OKC, is actually Minnesota Timberwolves. I never saw this performance coming I never saw them getting to where they were. They had been first for a while. I think it's just now they're like third and everything. But
After the injury to Kat.
after the injury to Kat and everything, and I have so my guy has already spoken about Ant so much and everything, and in as much as I like Ant, what I would love to see from Ant is a bit more consistency. My problem with Ant is he could drop 44 today, and then the next game he's dropping 14, and I'm wondering
What's the cause for the drop-off?
What's the cause for this drop-off and everything. And believe you me, Ant is going to get there, but he still has a couple of things I feel like he needs to work on his game for him to actually get to that point. But then again, I would say the Minnesota Timberwolves have been like the shocking team. The combination of Kat, Gobert, Edwards, and to think that they don't really have like that top caliber point guard, quote unquote, right? And everything, and yet Conley is good, but you know when I say point guard,
right? I mean, Conley is not a slouch. He led the Minnesota Timberwolves. He led the Memphis Grizzlies to.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Conley is a slouch. I'm not saying Conley isn't good. I'm just saying that.
I understand your point, but to the point of its team dynamics, you don't necessarily need a star as your PG.
So the team dynamics has actually, as you have mentioned, the team dynamics has actually been really good, and I've been pretty impressed with their setup. I'm looking at like the playoffs. And I want to really see like what they can actually bring to the playoffs.
Well, technically, I can tell you what they were going to the playoffs, which is nothing. They're probably going to get bounced out in the first round. But I mean, that's still. You'll see. Don't worry. You'll see. That inconsistency speaks of on. You know, what I love about the playoffs is the fact that they isolate you. The rest let you play, and then teams hone in on your weakness. So you see that inconsistency you spoke of Ant, it will blow it up on a major scale, and then you see it. Don't just wait on it. Don't argue, just wait on it. Same way I told guys back then that OKC are going to be one of the teams to look out for, and SGA is an MVP caliber player. It's the same way you see it now. So just wait on it. Don't worry yourself. So let's look at the playing situation. Currently in the West, we have the Mavs, we have Lakers, we have Golden State, and we have the Kings in the playing position. For the East, we have the who do we have in the East? Pacers, Heat, Bulls and Hawks. So for that, Bulls and Hawks, Pacers, it's just the Pacers that are the new entry into the playing situation. That was almost identical to the playing situation last year.
Yeah.
So let's look at both conferences, right? You take East, you take West. How do you see the East playing out? I don't want you to take West, but your Mavs are there. How do you see East playing out? Do you think the Heat are going to play on the, we surprised everyone last season, and we go all the way to the NBA Finals? Or do you feel like the Bulls are going to try and make a run? Because the Bulls, when I watched that game, I remember watching that game against the Heat and the Bulls were just there. It was just in the last 4 minutes in the first quarter where Miami took over and won that game. And I was quite like, what the hell is going on? Zach LaVine was balling, Jurgen was balling, what's his name, Loudmouth Pat Bev was doing stuff on the defensive end. So do you feel like the rules are going to switch? Or do you feel like, who do you think is going to come out of the playing two teams from the East?
Okay, short answer, Pacers and Heat. Long answer, as much as the Bulls have been surprisingly good because of the emergence of Kobe White, again, another star which we kind of thought was washed up, but okay, come on. I love his afro, by the way. But then, the Bulls are nothing, I'm so sorry. Like, they are going to they're going to have close games because they're a good team. The NBA is talented and offensively loaded. But then, see, the Heat, their culture is adversity. They need pain. They're absolute masochists. So they have to be in the play to get to the conference finals. And they have Jimmy Butler, MJ's second son, of course. I mean, firstborn son, obviously.
I mean, the Jimmy Butler thing is vastly overrated.
No, it's the culture thing. He's not a superstar, but he is their leader. He brings that grit and grind, which they all have. And I feel like once they enter the playoffs or the playing situation, what's his name? Pat Riley. Gives them some kind of weird juice, voodoo energy, whatever.
Same thing with the Lakers.
I know, they get mad and they become impossible to beat. And also the Pacers are where they are right now because they're still kind of trying to figure out that identity with Siakam in the mix. They've lost their sharpshooter and Buddy Hield. They've lost some pieces and they had a structure. Mathurin is out too for a while. So like they're trying to figure out how they will be. And eventually once they figure it out, and with the 76ers poised to drop out, I think the Pacers will actually enter sixth. 76ers will enter the play-in. They probably will still maybe make it. I don't know. But It's Pacers and Heat for me as things stand. Yeah.
What do you say? How about the West?
I think the East would have been much easier
I
for
know,
me to respond to.
I know where you live.
So the West is a very interesting one because all the way from 5th to about 10th, like up till now, nobody is really certain what can happen. Because it felt like New Orleans Pelicans were given a bit of gap and then all of a sudden they lost. And then you start asking, okay, it seems like, and then you still have Suns in the mix. Suns is just barely there, 6th. And then you have Sacramento there as well because I think it's 26, 27, 28 games lost, right? Between the Suns, the Sacramento Kings.
Kings are 27 as well.
Oh,
so anyone who loses the game between
exactly.
them dropping
so
out.
Now you can imagine.
Both
So
of them,
for the West, like the playing bracket is not even sure yet because anything can still happen between 5th and 8th. In my opinion, in my clear, candid opinion, right now, who do I think will make the playoffs and who do I think will stick in the play?
As things stand.
As things stand, I will still go with the Pels because I think the Pels still have what it takes and they might still be able to ground out a couple of results.
Okay.
Between Sacramento, Suns, and the Mavericks.
And the Lakers, Warriors.
Okay, I would go. This is a hard one. This is a really tough one, but I think I might go with the Kings. And this might be a shocking one. Yes, I know the Suns have the trio, right? But then again, we still see some of these their weaknesses that we've spoken about from the beginning of the season still play out.
I mean, I spoke of their weaknesses. He was saying they'll be alright.
No, but I did say they'll be fine. But they are fine. They are fine. They are not 10th, 11th, 12th. No, they are fine. Right? And then despite the trio power and everything, we still see games like once Devin Booker is out, it feels like they tend to struggle. Once Booker, Durant or Bill, in their last game, Booker, Durant and Bill literally scored 82 points out of I think 100 and was it 11 or 100? It was a crazy amount, right? And everything. But then again, on the defensive side, what do we see happening? Are they getting enough stops? Yes, they are not as bad as they were. They seem like a more settled team right now. But then again, some of these things are still rearing its ugly head and everything. And then what happens if a Durant or a Booker has a lengthy injury? Then you start worrying about whether they have enough to actually just win some of these games and things like that. So that is my worry for the Suns a bit. And then coming to the Dallas Mavericks, yes, I do like Doncic. It feels like they've added the right pieces, but I can't trust J. Kidd. I'm sorry, I can't trust Jason Kidd. It feels like sometimes he doesn't really know what to do. Sometimes that's the vibe he gives me. It feels like he still doesn't know what to do sometimes with that particular star-studded team. It takes him a bit of time for him to adjust certain things, and then he's seeing, okay, you know what? At a point, he kept playing Kleber and Hardaway. And at that particular point in time, yes, everybody says, oh, Kleber brings stuff to the defense, but we weren't seeing it anymore, right? And then he wasn't making his shots either. For you to be a stretch big and then at the end of the day, you're still not making those shots and everything. And then it took him a while to actually realize, oh, maybe I shouldn't be playing Kleber as much as I've been playing him, right? And then he starts making the changes. He was starting Lively at first and then he switches back to Gafford. And we see it actually bearing fruit and stuff. And so my biggest worry with the Mavericks is J. Kidd. I don't know if he's able to figure it out. Then the Lakers and the Warriors, just when you think, oh, you know what? They are going on those runs. Something just happens and then either AD chooses to...
The entire season, and I don't want to get into that AD conversation.
And then for Warriors, I think we are seeing it. Without Curry, it just feels like the team struggles to get wins.
Yeah, I mean, that's always been, even when they were still at their heyday, when Curry wasn't there, it was very... Because the offense is predicated around his movements. Everyone moves the way he moves. He gets the ball off the ball, everyone runs off the ball, moves, pass, stick, move, shoot. That's usually how their offense is. And that is on Steve Kerr for not tweaking and making changes to mitigate for stuff like that. if LeBron doesn't play, you see what the Lakers can do. They'll run the pick and roll with AD and Russell, or they'll stick out and pass the ball more and spread the floor with Torian Prince and these guys outside the arc. So that's usually how. But the thing with the Lakers is you have a lot of inconsistent players at key positions. You have D'Angelo Russell, who has been hot offensively since the trade deadline. Has been hot. I mean, they're averaging 23.4 points throughout that stretch. Shooting efficiently, had a 44-point game against Milwaukee Bucks, who supposedly have a great defense. And
not this year.
Yeah, so
not this year, bro.
I mean, so he's been good, but yesterday you saw how he gave you 6 points in the game, and it's like, come on, you can't do that. If he gave 15 points in that game, they win that game, and it's a completely different conversation.
I do think there's a voodoo somewhere. Maybe the Sacramento Kings have tried something, because it feels like when they see the Lakers,
they always turn up and stuff like that. No, but
just have that edge.
Not necessarily the edge. That's what I'm saying. You guys can look at the point guard position. Look at the difference in quality of the point guard position. You have Swiper the Fox versus D'Angelo Russell. In their shooting guard, you have Malik Monk coming off the bench. I can give you firepower. They have who is the person that will give you 30 points off the Lakers bench? Is it Max Christie? Is he who?
Who's that?
Who? I don't even know the guy's name, but if you look at Lakers bench, yes, he was like, who the hell are these guys? I think someone gave 7 points, everyone else 0-0-0-2. Like, what's that? And Lakers have injuries as well. No, when we get to the plane, I know I'm kicking ass and getting to the other line. Wow. Don't worry about the Lakers, we'll be fine. So, on to the next conversation, and we'll talk about star players, standout players. We know of the SGs, we know of Jokic, we know of Giannis, Embiid, and all these other guys. But who is your MVP? Who is your MVP, right? Without looking at the stats, without looking at everything else, who is your guy that's like this guy for this team, untouchable, he's been the guy, he needs to be MVP? Take into account team wins, team impact, and impact on winning.
Jokic.
Thank you.
Jokic.
This shouldn't have to be a conversation.
Like
please.
It's not even up for
it's
not even up for debate.
It's Jokic. Anything you want to do, stop it. Get some help. It's Jokic. The guy is incredible. He's inevitable, and I love how like he has this, of course it's this trend of like, oh, he's uninterested. He wins games just so he can finish it up and go and play League of Legends and go and watch his horse videos, Dreamcatcher and everything. And that's who Jokic is. He means business, but he's also very passionate and he's very, very good. He reads the game on such a level that it's ridiculous. I was watching some breakdowns of his plays, and they have this particular cut they do. I've forgotten what his name, because basketball terms are crazy to me sometimes. And he ran it against the Lakers. They denied him. Okay, cool. He ran it again, but switched to the up. Waited for them to fall for. He sort of like, I think he called for a screen. And then the moment the screen was about to come, he told his teammate to slip. And that's the thing, he communicates to his teammates and actively changes the offense that the coach have set. And so it's like having a different coach on court. And so like the offense is dynamic, although you kind of know what's going to happen. If they try something, it doesn't work, no problem. Murray, Jokic, pick and roll, bread and butter, it will work.
But so the thing is, I understand Jokic and all those things, but it's about the help that's around him. When Murray goes away, we know how they struggle. Yeah. If Murray isn't there, so is it Jokic or the team around him?
It's Jokic and the team.
Okay, so for example, let me put it to you in a way that you will understand. Yeah. LeBron in 2018, you know how he carried that team by himself. In fact, LeBron 2016 to LeBron 2019. Yeah. Do you see that in Jokic?
Yes. See, the thing is,
absolutely.
You see that kind of impact
outside,
absolutely,
irregardless of the guys that are
irregardless. The problem is,
absolutely. You see, that's why I brought the point of Murray not being there. You saw the stretch. Hold on. You saw the stretch of games when Murray was out. You saw how they stunk up the joint. Yeah. Right. And when I put LeBron, look at who LeBron's number 2 was at that point in time. Matthew Dellavedova. Where is he? I don't know. I can't see him. I don't know where he is.
Jokic's first MVP season, they were 6th. Who was really on that team?
That, to me, was a travesty. That was who they gave MVP to that season. Yeah. But you move that around.
First of all, you have to understand that, outside of Murray, if you place any of those, and they've been in teams before, and they were shite, and then they come to Denver Nuggets, the heights,
So-
and he makes them better.
So that's the thing I was actually going to point out.
And you guys are sure that
Jokic has a way of elevating all the players
He
around.
makes basketball
not the
easy.
team system.
He makes
Jokic.
basketball easy.
Jokic.
Have you ever seen Aaron Gordon that
Jokic.
deadly? Like, have you ever feared Aaron Gordon in your life?
I still don't fear him.
You should. Because if I'm a center, I swear, I'll be having nightmares thinking he's right behind me.
You know the thing about basketball teams and rotations. Hold on, about rotations that's very funny is that once you've seen something happen before, it's always going to work, right? In 2020 in the bubble, did you take note of the work Dwight Howard did on Jokic?
Yeah.
He neutralized everything that guy was about to do, and this was like a 30-something-year-old Dwight Howard, and Jokic was a few years younger and better, at least more athletic at that point in time.
No.
So my understanding of it is, because I've seen it happen before, if you it's the same way Giannis build a wall always works. At some point in time, you think Giannis would have gotten over that ability to jump over the wall when they build it for him, but it always works. And that's why some people feel if Miami face off against, or anybody just wants to face up against the Bucks, just build a wall. Giannis is not going to be able to do those long ass Euro steps to get over you and dump the ball out.
But that's why they've got
Dame shooting has slumped. It's not as effective as it was before.
They will go and put
Because
Dame for it.
why? Dame has no one that can help chase him up, mitigate for the fact that when they chase him off the 3-point line, what's he going to do? So that's why I feel like, okay, it's not Jokic, it's not. But I mean, I get you guys love Jokic and all la.
So
and it's fine.
Let me put it like this, right? Malone has found a system around Jokic that works. So it's a Jokic thing, looking at the player you have, and then now building a system around that
works
player
perfectly.
that works perfectly.
Because SGA benefits from the same thing.
Exactly.
The Thunder have a system that works for him.
Yeah,
And so if
my MVP is SG because you can't deny what that guy has done to elevate his team's presence, right? With the guys that were supposedly just young boys, and he's brought them together and galvanized them, and they are way ahead of schedule. For me, SG is my MVP. But let's not dwell too much on that. I'll come to you guys with your champions for 2023-2024 seasons. Who?
Denver Nuggets.
Denver.
So two of you are going Denver. That's not fine. Who I pick is actually very out there, but I feel like this team they've been putting in the work, and if they can stay healthy, they can go the distance. No, the Clippers. Clippers at a very healthy stretch can push any team. They can throw in any matchup to anybody at any point in time, and they also have the closers on the team. Paul George is crazy on both sides of the end. We all know Kawhi is going to draft. James Harden is still there. Russell is going to at least put in an impact. Then we have Norman Powell, we have Terrence Mann, we have all these guys. They have a solid unit. If Ty Lue, who I believe is a fraud, can get his shit together, the Clippers can go a long way. But you know, the conversation doesn't stop here. We'll be discussing more on our space this Saturday. So you know, everyone join in. 4 p.m. Saturday. You know, it's been awesome. As you know, I told you guys we are going to have some fun, and we have. So thank you once again. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.